Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of What's New in Prisma. My name is Alex, and today I'm joined by my lovely colleague as a co-host, Sabin. Sabin, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, especially now that you called me lovely. That's great.
You are, yeah.
Awesome.
What's new in your world, Sabin, by the way? Yeah.
Lots of just very fun writing. Sorry, I had double audio going. I had another window open with the stream. It's good now.
Okay.
Lots of just really good writing. I'm excited.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's an exciting time for Prisma, and I'm feeling it a lot right now.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Well, for me, it's nothing work related, but today I had the best cappuccino in my life yet. I'm not usually a coffee connoisseur. I just know what good coffee tastes like and what bad coffee is not shouldn't taste like, I guess. And today I had a really smooth cappuccino, and I'm probably going to go there a couple more times. So yeah, it's based in Berlin. Yeah.
Nice. I'm jealous. I make espresso at home, and it's
Mhm.
okay. It's pretty good, but a nice cappuccino sounds good.
It does indeed. So let's jump into what our agenda today. So today we'll start with going through the release notes for 4.13. And then after that, we'll have our first guest, Baptiste Arnaud. I hope I'm saying his name correctly, and he'll come correct us if I'm not.
I see a thumbs up, so yeah.
Yeah, he'll talk about Typebot, a tool that he's built, and he's the co-founder of, and another tool that's called Prisma Database Sync. I'll let him give us the details. And then after that, we'll have our former colleague Ryan Chenkie, who will talk about PrismaGPT, and then a couple of plugs and call to action items. And in case you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat, and then we'll answer them as we're going through the stream. So cool. So I'll go ahead and share my screen so that we can get started. Yeah. I might have jumped the gun there.
Okay.
But anyway, we're figuring things out. Is the font correct, or should I bump it up a notch?
If you could bump it a little bit, I think that might be a little more readable.
Cool. How about that?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So this is 4.13, which we released on Tuesday. We had a couple of new improvements and features that we added. And the first one is called Introspection stopgaps. It's a new initiative that we have, and for that is in the schema management side of things. And what it deals with is the Prisma schema language is still an ongoing and evolving language. And at the moment, it doesn't support all features and functionality. So in this release, we're improving how we detect these features that we currently don't support by giving you a warning so that you can add them to your migration files so that you don't forget them. Because sometimes if you run migrate dev after introspecting your database, you could lose some of your custom migrations, or Prisma Migrate might prompt you to reset. And in this release, we added stopgaps for partition tables, row level security, index sort order, the CockroachDB row level, TTL, comments, and Postgres deferred constraints. So once you run DB pull, we'll tell you that these are some of the features that you are currently in your database, if you have them, and then give you a warning to include them in your migration file. So give it a try. This is not a complete list of all the issues, and if you want to see more, there's a link here. You can check the other issues that we intend to support soon.
Also, just a quick note on that as well. There is plans to have a dedicated section in the docs that goes over each individual stopgap that we implement and the steps to get around that. It's not quite there yet, but we are working on it, and hopefully sometime pretty soon we'll have that. And the error messages you get, which I'll show later in the demo, will link you directly to those sections.
Yes. The other improvement that we've shipped this week is improved support for Netlify and Vercel. And in this issue, so Vercel and Netlify usually cache dependencies once you've built during the deployment step. and sometimes any post install script is usually not triggered, and Prisma client or Prisma is usually dependent on this to generate an updated Prisma client API for you if, for example, you remove or add a new field to your Prisma schema. So we will return an error at build time that will help you, that will allow you to, that lets you know that you should add either a post install script to generate Prisma after installation, or you can add a build script to your Vercel. You can include Prisma generate to your build script in order to generate Prisma client before your app is deployed. Yeah, we have a couple of docs that talks about that. If you've experienced this issue, I'd recommend checking this out. The next thing is just general improvement for support for PNPM as a package manager, a segfault fix, and a TLS error connection errors that we fixed as well, and a request for feedback for the JSON protocol that should improve. Should generally improve Prisma client queries, especially for big schemas. So give it a try. Let us know what you think. We'd really appreciate your help so that we can improve and move this feature to general availability. So yeah, and with that, I believe you have a demo for us.
Yes, I do. So I'll get my code up and we'll start doing that.
Cool.
Okay, how's the font size there? Is that all right?
Font size is pretty good. I also like the theme, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I stole it from whoever was on stream last time. They posted their theme. I stole it because I liked it so much. But yeah, so what I'm going to show here is just an example of the stopgaps. One of the stopgaps that we have in place is for an unsupported feature where you can determine where null values should go in your indexes, whether they should go at the beginning of the index or at the end. Right now, if you look at an index like this one, we only allow you to sort by descending or ascending, where with like Postgres or something, there would also be a syntax where you could do something like null last or nulls last. So that way you can say like, should be nulls and then A through Z, or A through Z and then nulls. So we don't support that quite yet. So for now, while we work on that feature, we've implemented this stopgap, and I'll just sort of show what that looks like. So I have uncommented this. We now have our index there. And I'll do a Prisma migrate create only. That way we can actually see the generated SQL file. And I think my Railway database has to start up a little bit. There we go. Then if we go into migrations, we can see here that we did create a migration. If we scroll down, this is the index that is related to this index here. So we can see we're sorting on name, but what we actually want to do is we're going to say we want the nulls to be at the very beginning of the index and then go A to Z after that. So we'll do nulls last. So currently, this is the only way to do this with Prisma Schema. You'd have to create your migration and then add this manually. And then you can do npx Prisma migrate dev to actually apply that. Let's see when this goes.
That was successful.
Nice. Cool. So that's actually applying this. So now within our database, we have this sorted index with the nulls last. But what I want to show here is what the stopgap actually looks like if you do a introspection. So this would assume you're starting with the database, you're starting up a project with Prisma using an existing database, and you do your initial pull, and you want to see what's in your database that is not quite supported yet. So in that case, we could do npx Prisma db pull. And we're going to get this nice warning here. These index columns have non-default null sort order, which is not fully supported yet. And then, of course, we get this this link here. And I won't open this right now, but I'm pretty sure this just goes to the GitHub issue related to it. Eventually, as I mentioned before, this is also going to go to a description in our docs of what the problem is and how to get around it for now.
Okay.
But yeah, this is what it'll look like for any of those unsupported features that we have.
Awesome. And hopefully in the near future, we will natively support them in the Prisma schema. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. Cool. And with that, we'll invite our guest on stage. Yeah. Hey, Baptiste, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
I'm good too. Welcome to What's New in Prisma. For those who don't know you yet, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Baptiste. I'm a software engineer from France. I'm the founder of Typebot, which is a tool that allows you to create unique conversational experiences. So that's a pretty term to say chatbot, but I like to say I'm not a fan of the chatbot word, so I'm trying to find my own terms here. But yeah, the idea is that you can create your own experiences for your user with a no-code tool where you drag and drop blocks in a Canva. I'll maybe make a demo next so that you can see what I'm talking about. And yeah, I've been doing that for 3 years. I'm a solo entrepreneur, and that's it.
Awesome. And what motivated you to build Typebot, by the way?
Well, after graduating, I've been doing jobs as a contractor and as a software engineer. And then I've decided to maybe create my own tool and try to monetize it. So I've tried to follow the indie hacking movement, where the idea is that any developer can create their own tool and monetize it without getting any fund or anything. And also the idea is to build in public. So there's this movement of developers that are trying to make a living out of tools that they create. And that's what I've been doing with Typebot for the last 3 years.
Nice. And I also understand that it's open source as well, right?
Exactly, yeah. It wasn't at the beginning, but then I've decided to open source it because I just love open source SaaS. So we can name a few like Plausible, PostHog, Cal.com. And since I just want to build a tool that I would like to use myself, I've told myself, okay, let's just open source everything. And that's been a great decision from my part.
It's really cool. Was there any risk kind of building a commercial product that is open source, by the way? Just out of curiosity, yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit counterintuitive when you don't know the details. But basically, any open source project can be protected with a license, and a common license for SaaS that you open source is AGPL v3. It basically states that if someone else wants to commercialize their own version of Typebot, they need to mention the official project during the user sign up or anywhere really visible. And also they have to open source their own version. So yeah, the idea of this license is to promote open source and still, make everyone contribute to open source. And if someone takes the code of Typebot, fork it, and create their own features, I can also take back their features, and it can be a win-win then.
Yeah, it is. And also, just out of curiosity, what tools are you using to build Typebot, or what libraries?
Yeah, so Typebot is basically two applications. There's the builder and there's the viewer. Both of these apps are Next.js apps, and it's I'm managing everything in a monorepo using Turbo repo. And yeah, for the data part, I'm using obviously Prisma. And yeah, that's it. That's the big picture.
Cool. And out of curiosity, as you're building Typebot, because I think Prisma is almost as old as Typebot is, were there any other tools that you considered for building the data layer part of Typebot?
Yeah, at the beginning, I was looking at Supabase. It was also pretty new. Maybe that wasn't a good choice, but the idea is that I could use their SDK. But then at the time, everything about data migration, it wasn't really a good option for that. So I've decided to still use the database from managed by Supabase, but then I have my data layer with Prisma that will handle the migration part and also then use Prisma client. But other than that, no, Prisma have always been my first choice.
Nice, because I think also 3 years ago, Prisma Migrate was still in early access or preview, before, and therefore it's really nice to see that you've stuck around through the entire period as well as Prisma grew. Yeah. And what are some of the fun parts besides the type safety that you enjoyed with Prisma, I guess? Yeah.
Yeah, that's just magical. For example, I started I had to switch from a PostgreSDB database to a MySQL database, and basically all I had to do is to create a new Prisma schema, and it just worked. That's this magical moment where you're just you can. And so today the application can be connected to a PostgreSDB and also a MySQL DB thanks to Prisma, because you just have to. It will check if the environment variable database URL will start with PostgreSQL, and then it will select the correct schema while executing the Prisma command. So
that's really cool.
Really magical.
Yeah, it is. And also, besides talking about the fun parts, were there any pain points that you also experienced working with Prisma or databases as well? Yeah.
There has been issues regarding, PNPM workspaces, also with Turbo Repo, but that's been okay. I've opened issues and it has been, take part. So overall, that's been a great experience.
Nice,
cool. Yeah, and I also hope that this release, since we've improved support for PNPM, I've also experienced it before, that the generation part was slightly painful, but at least I hope this release also improves it, by the way. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that also makes me think, you said you're using Vercel. We had another update in this release that makes it with some documentation around generating Prisma client. Have you ever run into that issue where your Prisma client didn't get updated on a deployment?
Yeah, but I think it was due to the Turbo Repo cache. I had other issue with that, but now it's settled. But yeah, I'll have to take a look. Maybe I don't know if I implemented a workaround for this, so yeah, I'll take a look.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I actually tried it out, I think yesterday or today, and your build will fail, and that's intentional, so that you can add the workaround to ensure that you don't experience it in subsequent publishes as well.
Yeah, that's very nice.
So just yeah. So without further ado, could you show us Typebot? Yeah, and besides Typebot, there's Prisma Database Sync, which you will talk about it when we get there as well.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let me share my screen.
I'll add it to stream. Wait, infinite loop. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Typebot dashboard where all my Typebots are listed. So let's just start a Typebot from scratch so that I can show you. Yeah, I'll maybe hide this. I can show you the editor. So the idea is that you have built-in blocks here that you can drag and drop to the Canva and create your conversation. So the idea is that you can add bubbles that will display media content. So maybe a text bubble that will say hello. Then why not an image bubble with a GIF that welcomes us? So maybe anything. And then I can connect the start block to this group, preview my chat, and it will exactly display what I've been building here. And then you have input blocks here that allows you to collect information from your user. So basically, I can ask for the name. So let's add a new text bubble that will ask, what's your name? And you can then collect the name. So yeah. So that's really the basics here. Let's now, whoops, sorry. Let me show you maybe a more advanced bot that uses a new OpenAI block that allows us to dig into a topic and collect more information about the user and let a GPT model think about new questions. So this is a common flow where I just ask for the company name, then take the email, then also ask what services is the user interested in, and then I let the OpenAI service take the control and collect more information about the user needs. So what I can do is publish this bot. I'll be redirected to a share page where I can either copy the Typebot URL, or if I want, I can embed this bot anywhere in my apps as a standard block, as a pop-up, or as a bubble. But for convenience here, let's just copy it and check it. So it's a full page here with our bot. And we can start just collecting results from our user. So what's my company, Typebot? Yeah, the idea is to provide that kind of chat experience that can be really hyper customized to the user, to what the user have said. So I don't know, maybe check website dev, social media. And now it's OpenAI that will take the control. So he'll ask question about, what really are your needs, etc. So I can answer. And then in real time, I can see in my results tab, I can see the new result. And yeah, that's it. I can start collecting results from my user and then use this information to either go back to the user, ask him questions, or anything.
The UI for all of this looks really nice. It's super clean, especially the how you build your forms. I really like how that looks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's really appreciated. It's custom made, so that's nice.
Nice. Very cool. So is that the primary use case for this then? Is just setting up basically what would normally be a typical form, but in a more conversational way, so you feel more like connected to the website? Is that sort of the idea?
Yeah, there's two promises here. The idea is that you, in theory, you convert more leads. So there's this marketing part where you can build more powerful forms because it's a chat form, because we are collecting the result as soon as the first question is answered. For example, with a classic form, the issue is that you have to wait the user to submit the entire form to get their results. So you lose a ton of data in theory. And then there's this other part that helps you automate your conversation with your user. So a bit of a customer support part where you can add bots in your applications. For example, if someone is canceling their plan, you can add a bot that will ask, "Oh, why are you canceling the plan?" And depending on what the user is answering, you can offer a discount or you can do anything, so that's the global idea.
Really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and one thing I'm really curious about is what does the data structure that saves all this, the whole flow actually look like in the Prisma schema? Because I'm guessing this is, you can't really have a structured model in this case.
Yeah. Do you want me to show the?
Sure.
I can do that. Okay. I don't know if I'm sharing only my. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
No,
it's the entire infinite loop. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
All good.
And window. All right. So this is, to be honest, this is pretty simple. So the answer model is just a result model that has several answers, and the answer is belongs to a result. And yeah, I don't know.
What about the question? The questions, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, the question. So
yes,
it's in the Typebot model. So and then so indeed, it's not in several tables. It's just a JSON object that I'm storing. So this is in groups, and then in groups you have several blocks, but I'm handling that on the client. So I'm just storing the raw JSON here. Otherwise, that would be too complicated.
Right.
Yeah. And do you do any form of JSON validation, by the way, just before you save the data, or in case something's not messed
I'm
up?
using TRPC. So I'm using Zod for the validation. So I have a package called schema, and as you can see here, what I'm doing is creating a parallel schema that satisfies the Prisma type, right? And so I can give it a more defined type myself. That's the overall idea.
Nice. That's cool to see the satisfies keyword there. That's pretty new in TypeScript. Just
not
super new, but maybe a couple months old. So it's
that
nice
works.
that you're using
that works great.
Really cool. And besides Typebot, one other library that I believe you've built is called Prisma Database Sync.
Yes.
What is it, by the way? Yeah.
Well, let me show you. So I had to switch from a PostgreSQL database to a MySQL database, basically from Supabase to PlanetScale, if we want to talk about services, because of a performance issue. Because I'm in a serverless environment, I had issue with the PG bouncer on Supabase. There was a hard limit of 200, if I'm correct. I asked them to increase the limit, because when I had a traffic spike, then the database wouldn't just work. So that was pretty inconvenient. So I had to switch to PlanetScale, and I couldn't be happier. But then there was a challenge of, how do I migrate all the data from a PostgreSDB to a MySQL DB? And so I had to create a tool that I can show you now. I don't have a demo for this, but I can explain the idea. So it's called Prisma Database Sync. The idea is to use Prisma power in terms of data transformation. So you give it a source schema and a target schema. So the source schema is your current database, and the target schema would be the target database. And by providing these two schema, then you have a sort of a smart CLI that would allow you to sync both database. And the idea is to have an incremental sync. So if your models have a updated at field, what we can do is just import all the first data from the source database, and then if you continue to sync the databases, we will only fetch the new data, the updated data. I hope that makes sense. That's hard to explain.
It does make sense. Yeah. Also
But
with the
basically
targets.
how to use, you have three commands: dump, inject, and sync. Sync is just a dump and inject with an interval. So yeah, dump command will just dump the source DB, and inject will inject to the target database. And it's powerful because I wanted to have a migration with zero downtime, and it actually worked. We couldn't see any downtime, so that's pretty great.
Really
But
cool.
I wouldn't
really cool.
recommend if you have really a ton of data for this kind of job. You would have to use something like database migration service from AWS or any other data ingestion service that would be more suited for this job.
Cool. And also, speaking of the whole connection limit issue, besides migrating to planet scale, was there any other workaround that you found besides having more than 200 connections, perhaps? Or
unfortunately, no workaround. I think I was screwed, or I could just go out of a serverless environment and just have a server on my own. But yeah, that I didn't like the idea. Another workaround would be to use the Supabase SDK, because they have a sort of a pool of their own if you use their SDK. But yeah, that wouldn't be an option for me either. So yeah, I didn't have the choice.
Really cool, really cool. Yeah, I think that was all the questions from me. Do you have any, Sabin?
I don't think so. Just a comment. This all looks really cool. The database sync, I haven't seen that yet. I'll have to go take a look at it, and it looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And we've also shared them in the comment section. We'll also include it in the description of the video after the live stream as well. Yeah. And with that, thank you, Baptiste, for joining us. Hope to see you soon with another tool as well.
Cool. Yeah, of course.
See you soon.
Bye, guys.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Oh, we have to fix that. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. Cool. And in this case, we'll now move on to the next segment where we'll bring an old friend, Ryan, to share with us a tool that he built pretty recently, actually, called PrismaGPT. Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, Ryan, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. You? Good to see you.
I'm doing good to see you too. I was going to go with hello, old friend, since
hello, old friend.
Since
That's a good one.
Yes. So, how are you doing?
Good. I'm well. I've been busy building away some Prisma type stuff, even though I've, since departed Prisma, the company, I'm still using it all the time in my own work and also creating content on it and making little gadgets with it. So I'm still very much plugged in. But it's good to reconnect on the stream here. It's been a while. And Sabin, we haven't met Sabin, but it's right. Good to meet you officially.
Yeah, I feel like we've interacted quite a bit, but we've never actually talked on stream or anything. So
yeah, great to meet you, man. Yeah, and so PrismaGPT, I guess you guys want to talk about that, eh? It just released yesterday. Yeah, what do you want to know? What can I tell you?
What is PrismaGPT for those who are still not familiar with it yet?
What is PrismaGPT? Let's talk about that. Why don't I put my screen up? So let me pick my window so I can show it. So there it is in the backstage if you want to. Cool. Yeah, so PrismaGPT is basically a little tool that allows you to use GPT-4 to ask questions of your schema and questions in regards to how do I query for a certain thing. And so the idea came to me because I was using ChatGPT quite a bit to like figure out ways to interact with my schema, or how to get maybe some raw SQL if I wanted to use that. And so I would upload my schema, not upload, but like, paste in my schema to ChatGPT, and I would just say like, given this schema, how can I get this sort of complex thing that I want to get after? And so that was great, but it gets a bit annoying that you always have to go back and sort of redo the chat, or go back to your previous chat and pick up from there. And I wanted to put together a tool that kind of gives you a more succinct way to do that. And so that's what I've done with PrismaGPT. So I'll show you how it works. If that is where you want to go. Let's see here.
Yes.
So I have got on my clipboard a schema from just like a sample project. So it is, these 4 models. I've got user, post, profile, and comment. So I can paste that in, say I'm okay with OpenAI seeing my schema, and I can use that. And then the schema becomes visible here in the sidebar. And basically, I just I describe the query. So I say something like, show all posts in, or let's do this, show all posts and the author that made the post. Something like that.
Yeah.
I can generate, and it's going to go do its thing. So it's using, the OpenAI API under the hood with the ChatGPT 4 as target. Because it's like waiting until all of the content from ChatGPT completes before sending back the result, it is a bit of like a long spin, because it's like waiting for, like if you're in ChatGPT itself, you see the content coming through piece by piece. But here we're just waiting for it all before we come back. And so there we go. Prisma client query. Comes back, and then we get some SQL as well. And that's the idea. You can, further describe the queries you want. You can get a little bit more detailed. You can ask it how to do more complex things. And I think a good use case for this is like, especially if you're newer to Prisma and you want to explore the Prisma client API, but maybe you're not in the docs all the time. Maybe you don't want to sift through documentation. It's a decent way to be able to get like some queries done for you, so you can get off and started.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the idea. Yeah.
That's super cool. I played with it a little bit, just seeing how complex of queries it can build, and I mean, it got it right most of the time. It was pretty fun.
That's cool.
AI and like this ChatGPT stuff is beyond my realm of knowledge right now. So I'm very curious what goes into actually putting together a language model like this that can actually read your something and respond with a response.
I can't speak to like the language model stuff because I'm not in the AI world in that way, but I can tell you kind of how this works under the hood. It's an API call to OpenAI, and it's a set of prompts that are constructed that take into consideration the schema you've uploaded, and also the query that, or the natural language query that you're wanting to use. And basically, the way that it works is like it's a couple stages of prompts where I kind of tell GPT what to do, and then I say use this piece that comes from the front end, and then I give it some further instruction where I say like I only want to get the results back as a JSON object. The values for each field need to be strings specifically. I give it a bunch of like instructions so that I can have a repeatable and really well-known way that the front end is going to consume that data. As I was initially kind of putting it together, sometimes ChatGPT would give me back content that was in an unexpected shape. Like it would give me an array, just just sometimes for whatever reason. So the more specific that you can be, the better. And one cool trick that I've learned is that it really works well if you tell ChatGPT kind of what it is or how it's supposed to behave. So even starting with something like, pretend you are, a Prisma expert AI model, blah, blah, blah. Like you can really give it its specific kind of duty that way. And then if you do so, it's better at giving you results that you're looking for.
Very cool.
That's the basic idea. It's not super complex on the back end. I mean, like you send this call through when you hit generate, it's like a couple fields. So, I mean, you can even look at that. You can go to network. So just run that again. Generate. It's just sending the Prisma schema in a string format and the prompt. And a couple quick things on the back end, and then it's off to OpenAI, and it'll give you back a result. One thing that's kind of like clunky, I suppose, is that, like, especially for the SQL, I find it'll give you kind of a different result every time. I mean, maybe they all do the same thing in the end, but like, you know, that one was a bit shorter than the one just before. I bet this one's going to look a bit different too. It's kind of however ChatGPT feels in that moment, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah, it's a bit different.
Okay,
still.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway,
was this your first jump into working with like AI models and all this?
I suppose from an application, well, you know, that's not true. I had put a little bit into, so I've got this other app called PDF Gen, and it is this thing where you can go and like set up a document to generate from an API call, so like a PDF document. And so, I don't know, let's do it. Let's do a new one here quickly. Test invoice, invoice starter on Pug. Here's what I'll do. Before I do that, I'll just show you. I hope I have one here that's like going to render something. Yeah, I do. So anyway, the idea with it here is PDF Gen. You can like configure your contents and give some preview data and styles and stuff like that. And then you get an endpoint that you can call this from with an API call from your application, right? So you can send in your like dynamic data from your application. It's basically you set up your template for your PDF and we give you back a PDF very easily. So you don't have to deal with setting up all the PDF stuff yourself. So what I've got here now is, I guess this was my first one that I did for an application that I had some AI stuff going in. And so this is it here. You give an AI prompt. Let's see what we get. It's results may vary. Hopefully this is going to work. For the sake of the demo. But yeah, so this is the first one that I use some AI in, and it's like, it's pretty straightforward as well. You know, it's an API called OpenAI. GPT-4 does a good job usually of putting together like a template, but sometimes it's a little weird.
Gotcha.
So we'll see. But yeah, I guess this is my second one. This is my second one with AI.
So what would you say like the barrier of entry is when like jumping into working with AI? Was it pretty difficult to understand at first and then it just clicked, or? It's
I don't know that I understand it at all. It's like the barrier to entry is pretty small. I think you like as long as you know how to make an API call, I think you're in decent shape. And I mean, as people have said, it's like it's all about the prompt engineering at this point. It's like figuring out the best way to phrase something so that ChatGPT knows what you want or can respond in a consistent manner. That's pretty good. So, and I don't know that in this one here, like in this PDF Gen example, hopefully it's going to give us something. It usually takes a while. I didn't do much to like really specify within my prompts. I can't remember the exact prompt that I'm using behind the scenes, but it's something like, you know, create an invoice or create a template that uses Pug if the user has selected Pug or JSX, whatever. And, you know, here's a couple parameters for you to use. It was a little bit less verbose than what I've got behind the scenes here. Behind the scenes here, it's like very descriptive. It's like very concrete what I want. And I think that's the key if you're doing like AI integration in your application. It's just like be as descriptive as possible about what you're wanting to get back.
Gotcha.
Oh, here we go. Woo! There you go. Company invoice.
That's pretty cool.
So and that's cool because you can ask it to generate like, you know, a certificate or like some other kind of thing, right, that you might want as a template. And it's a good starting point. Usually people can have this be a good starting point and off they go.
I'm curious, has it ever brought a different Pug besides the templating language, just out of curiosity?
A different Pug? How do you mean?
Like the dog. Yeah.
The dog? Yeah. It has not brought the dog. It is it's smart enough not to know the context. It's like, okay, I see what's going on.
Okay.
So it's impressive, right? I mean, I think we've all been impressed by like how much context the AI model can know and like what it can provide back given that context.
Yeah. Cool. And also out of curiosity, I know I only know from just watching the space that there's GPT-4, 3.5, and 3, and but I don't really understand the difference. Do you possibly know what the difference is between the three?
Well, I mean, 4 it's got much more training data, I believe. It's like trained on many more data points. It's multimodal is what they say, right? Like you can upload images to it and get it to interpret an image. So I guess it's more like feature rich in that way. I think they've just spent a lot of time getting the language model to behave in a way that is more like precise, and then it's kind of smarter. At least that's like the impression. I don't know how they do that, but it's certainly a noticeable difference. I think it's like, so as an example, as I was preparing the whole PrismaGPT thing, I was just like working within ChatGPT to get some to give it some examples to see how it would behave. And I was comparing between 3.5 and 4, because one thing is like 4 is a lot more expensive in an API call. At this point, since launching, I've had like, thousands of people come to the site. And I think my bill right now is at $30 or something like that. So it's not crazy. Like it's not that bad, but it's, that could get racked up. It is a bit of like, this is a bit of a marketing site for my course that's coming up. So it's fine. But the difference between 3.5 and 4, so yeah, 3.5 is less expensive. But I was testing out like how the results were coming back between the two. And 3.5, I would tell it to like behave in a certain way. Like I only want this to be the structure, and like don't do this. And it just would ignore that stuff. Whereas 4 is like super capable of interpreting that correctly. So following instructions, I guess, that's one big thing that 4 is better at.
Cool.
Sometimes the models usually sound like humans in that, how good a human would do a given task is dependent on how good the instructions are from the other human.
Yeah,
as well. Totally. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yep.
You had a comment, Sabin? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. This is totally off topic from what we were talking about, but I'm curious. I'm a front end guy. I like front end stuff. The site that you have is gorgeous. Did you design this?
Oh, thanks. I did not design it. I do have a designer that has worked on this stuff, and so I'll give a little shameless plug, if I might, for my upcoming course for production ready Prisma. I had a designer work on this initially before PrismaGPT came along, and I liked the styles and everything here, so I just asked them to kind of extend it to something that could be used for this kind of marketing page here. And so, yeah, it turned out well. I really like it. I dabble in design myself, but stuff that I do, I can't do as good a job as like a designer could here. So it's I'm glad I was able to bring someone in for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I guess while you're on this page, do you want to tell us a little bit about the course, when it's like
Sure.
When it's coming out, what it includes, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, totally. Thanks. It is basically, so Production Ready Prisma is the name of the course, and it's kind of all the harder stuff that you don't really anticipate when you get started with Prisma and you're developing. Prisma is great because it gives you a super smooth path to get your application started and developed and even deployed. But the reality is there's just like a whole bunch of tricky stuff that you might not expect once you are in production and starting to scale up. So it's things like, how do I handle database connection limits? Because that's, especially if you're using serverless, that's a big thing that can happen, is like you might exhaust your connection limits. Yeah. It's things like how to properly handle migrations, and like if a migration goes wrong, how do you roll it back? How do you fix things and get going again? It's things around performance, right? So all the stuff that is kind of like after you have developed your application and you've gone into production, there's a bunch of topics that are a little bit trickier. So this is the kind of topic area here. Migrations, using transactions. So interactive transactions are going to be a big topic there. Hardening data access, that's a big topic as well. Making sure that people who aren't allowed to get certain bits of data cannot actually get them, right? So putting some guards in. Multi-tenant apps, that's a big one too. How do you construct your schema in a way that's really amenable to a multi-tenant app? So yeah, that's an idea of what will be in the course, and it doesn't have a firm date for release yet, but it's probably going to be sometime in June. Hoping kind of endish of June at this point. But we'll see. It's under development right now. I've got some free stuff right now, so you can go to learn.howtoprisma.com, and there's like getting started course. So there's like this getting started with Prisma course, and I've also got another one which is about Prisma and Planet Scale together, how to use those two together.
Nice. Yeah. No, that's exciting. I've been following along as you sort of posted updates, and I'm hyped to see it come out. Hopefully we can do some sort of like co-marketing as you release it and push it.
Great, yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's hopefully going to help like these complex situations. For a lot of developers, these are things that I've run into because like I do client work and I'm deploying applications that run Prisma all the time, and these are some of the things that I've had to think about and solve. And so if I can help people kind of get those hard things solved without needing to bang their head against their desk like I've had to do, that's it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. And just out of curiosity as well on How to GPT, is it a tool that you intend to open source or is it going to remain closed source?
I probably will open source it. Yeah, I just haven't put too much thought to that yet. But yeah, for sure, it's a Next.js application. So it's interesting. This site here is an Astro site, and we initially had the GPT portion like right within Astro, and it was all working. Like everything was good, and it was running well in local development. And then we pushed it out, and it wouldn't work. Like the GPT page just like kept crashing, both on Netlify and on Vercel. We pushed it to both spots, and so it's something with Astro. Anyway, we just made this into a Next application, and yeah, I think we'll probably just open source it at some point, maybe next week or something.
Awesome.
Clean up a couple things and put it open.
Pretty cool. Those were all my questions. We'll include the links to PrismaGPT and your course as well in the description as well. I've already shared them in the chat as well. And thank you for joining us. I really enjoyed learning about GPT and the course that you're working on as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it was nice to get to talk to you finally.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, likewise, for sure. Hopefully we'll see you in person at some event or something soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Ciao.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Awesome. And with that, we'll move on to the next segment where we'll go through a few call to actions as well. Yeah.
Cool.
So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Sorry for the endless loop. A sneaky thing that I usually do whenever I see an endless loop is just do something.
Oh yeah.
Funny. Yeah.
Enter the void. And,
yeah. So the first thing that we'd like to bring to action is the Prisma.io ecosystems page, where you can view all the tools that have been built on top of Prisma. For example, there are 3 Prisma client variants that have been built in Rust, Python, and Dart. Oh, there's also the Go client, which we don't officially support anymore. And if you're looking for either a generator, middleware, or I guess client extensions as well, you can come view them on this page. If you're interested in sharing a tool that you've built, I believe we have you can submit, you can click this button, which will open a type form, and you can share with us the tool that you've built. Yeah.
And this, still on this ecosystem page, this is something where we're putting together sort of more of a process, right? Where we're going to be more regularly checking these to get things in. I know there's a couple packages, like, what was the one? Oh, Prisma Keesley. That was one package that we've sort of been looking through and might get on this page pretty soon.
Oh, is it here yet? Keys? Not yet. Yeah, not yet. It's in. Also, I can definitely see the Rust and the client. Python clients have a pretty high number of stars as well.
Yeah.
That's impressive. The second item is the Prisma Playground, which we built a couple of months ago. With the help of Vasek, whom we had on a previous stream, where you can get to try out different Prisma client queries in real time. For example, here, different kinds of queries. There's advanced patterns with transactions, middleware, raw queries, logging. There's an update. You can just run them and you get to see how Prisma client works. Yeah, which is pretty fun. And it also includes a playground for Prisma Migrate, where you can follow a couple of guides and see how to evolve your schema in a particular way, whether it's creating a column, updating, deleting a column, a table, an enum, and hopefully, or how to work with relations. So check it out and try it. And finally, in case you would like to showcase or help out some of our community members, we introduced a new label for our GitHub discussions where for community help wanted. So if you go to our GitHub discussions, you can check for the issues with the community label here, and then you can respond to a given community member as well, so that we can grow our community. Yeah, and that's just about it. Woo. Cool. It seems there were no questions in the chat today. Anything you'd like to highlight, Sabin?
Yeah, I think there was actually one. I'll put it on the screen right now. This is by Tanhi Hussein, I think. When will nested group by be supported? If this is, I would say if there's not an issue already for this in our GitHub repository, go ahead and create one. That way we can sort of start to get thumbs ups and thumbs downs on it to see, to gauge the interest. That way we can better prioritize it in our list. But yeah, if that's something that you're interested in, please go create an issue there.
Awesome. There was also a highlight from Path, who built an app using Prisma.
Oh yeah. Cool. Definitely, if you're still watching Parth and you if that's like an open source project, throw it out there on like Twitter or something. Let us know so that we can take a look and just see how it works. I'd be curious to see what's going on there.
And also have you on the stream if you're up for it. Yeah.
Next Twitter, of course.
Exactly. Cool. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next stream. Ciao.